Welcome back. After last Saturday's win over Western Illinois, NDSU has taken sole possession of first place in the Missouri Valley with a perfect 7-0 record. For more on Bison football, here's Brian Shawn with special guests Cole Jirik and Joel Kerlin in Fargo.
All right, thank you so much, Kelly. We are joined by a couple of special guests this week on the Bison Breakdown. Cole Jirik, former defensive lineman, part of the Bison Radio Football Network now, and then Joe Kerlin, who you'll see around the scenes quite a bit, who is the editor for Bison Illustrated. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Good to have you both in studio. How's everybody today?
Good to be here.
Yeah, good.
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to have you here. So here we are. Bison are 7-0 moving into this weekend. It's going to be a good game against Northern Iowa, obviously. The defense has been so impressive to this point. I think that even sometimes now that we're impressed, now that we've seen some of the offenses they've gone against and how they've shut teams down. 9.6 points per game, 192 yards a game, just 70 first downs allowed in 7 games. What is the biggest reason for that in your eyes?
Experience and leadership with Nick DeLuca, Trey Dempsey, and Nate Tangway. Those guys are leaders at each position, and they're at different positions, at the D-backs group, the linebackers group, and the defensive line group. So they have leadership in every position. They're not who's going to step up, who's going to be our guy type situation. We have really good players at every spot, and early on in the season we played some teams that weren't very good, and this defense was lights out, which they should have been. So we're like, okay, how good are they going to be? Well, the last 2 weeks we kind of found out Youngstown was a really good team that did a lot of great things against us, and same with Western. I mean, they're scoring 42 points a game, and we shut them down. It's been a testament to Enns getting that defensive group ready. I mean, we've had linebackers going down left and right. We lost Greg Menard. Everyone's going, okay, what's the season going to be like? Well, they had the 2s and 3s and even 4s prepared to play for this football season. And I think the depth of this football team is what makes our defense so good.
No, absolutely. And playing off that, I think on the defensive line specifically, I think there's like 16 guys that have different, have sacks recorded this year for the Bison defense. And I just think the depth there has been really helpful, and being able to get pressure on that quarterback when you're just rushing forward like they did against Western Illinois last week was super impressive. And seeing like young guys like a Cole Karch, Derek Tuska, McCormick even out there, number 77 out there, those guys being able to cause trouble for a quarterback like McGuire was huge for this defense. And just so those guys in the secondary can kind of do whatever they want, right? And just kind of float around and just go to the ball.
And I think the 5 sacks in the first half, as you said, really set the tone for them. Easton Stick, this guy is now midway through his junior year. He's 27-2 as a starter. He's tied with Carson Wentz for touchdown passes all time in an NDSU career. Does the guy get enough credit, or does he still not get enough credit for what he's done and what he continues to do? He doesn't always put up the eye-popping numbers, but I tell you what, when the Bison need a yard or need a play, he always seems to make it.
I think he gets credit a lot of times, but it gets kind of ragged on because he's not Carson Wentz. He's not making that unbelievable throw off 1 foot way over some safety's head. He doesn't have that kind of arm, and that's not a knock on him. That's just Carson Wentz to see what he's doing in the NFL. I mean, not many people have that kind of talent. But, I mean, what Easton Stick is doing is unbelievable. His passing numbers are great, and he's very, very underrated as a passer. But I think the most underrated thing about him is a leader. He leads that offense. He gets him in the right spots. He threw 2 picks in the last game, and he bounced back, and it was phenomenal from that point on. And I don't think he ever lost confidence, and no one in that offensive huddle lost confidence in him. And there's a lot of players, a lot of teams that your quarterback starts throwing picks, you start getting what's going on type situation. And NDSU doesn't have that, and I think he needs to get more praise with his leadership abilities and his ability to win football games.
Listen, this guy has pass completion percentage of 69, which is really nice for a junior quarterback at that level, and that is the jump that they wanted to see, that the coaches wanted to see out of this kid. I think he gets a lot of recognition among fans, but sometimes you throw those 2 interceptions, you'll see, oh, what's wrong with Stick? What's wrong with Stick? Well, he comes back and he just does it with his legs, and I don't think people understand how valuable that is to especially this level of football, to have a quarterback that can, when all else fails, just bail out and make a 40-yard run down the middle of the field. That's spectacular to have. And yeah, you're right, Cole. I think NDSU fans were a little spoiled with Carson Wentz, and sometimes I'm sitting there watching him Thursday night. He makes a bullet pass 30 yards down the middle of the field, and you're like, did this guy go to North Dakota State?
Right.
Do we really have this guy on our team? So I think Easton Stick's progression has just been on track right now with where NDSU fans want to see him, and just his arm strength is something that I've seen this year. That's something that I didn't know he actually had.
And, I think the other part with Stick, he threw the 2 picks. He completed his next 8 passes, and the Bison scored 2 touchdowns right away to start the third quarter. So they got things rolling a little bit. Last stretch, 4 games to go. How's the body feeling at this point as a player? You've been in this situation before, and what is the key now to finishing off not only October but November strong?
I think with our team right now, we're pretty healthy body-wise. We had some early games and some blowouts early on where a lot of our starters didn't take a ton of snaps in the second half, and it saved their bodies a ton. But after a couple Missouri Valley weeks, especially the last two opponents, especially going to Youngstown, and Western was a physical team as well, they're beat up. You got bumps and bruises, you got things are sore, you got swelling in places. You're like, oh man, I don't want to get out of bed on Monday morning. Jim Kramer's got us lifting, type situation. And it's going to be a testament to these players. Is are they going to get in the training room? Are they going to get in the ice baths? Are they going to stay in the weight room with Kramer and stay flexible? It's the biggest thing the last few weeks is it's still week by week.
No question. And I know, Joe, for you, you're behind the scenes. Traits of this team that stand out to you. You get a chance to see maybe some of these players or coaches when a lot of other people don't. What stands out to you?
I think all these guys really get along. And we go back to the defensive line, something that has been really impressive this year. And when you have like the senior leadership there, with Greg Menard still there, still interacting with the guys on the sideline, celebrating, even though you're like, oh, hold on here, your knees hurt, don't jump up and down too much. But no, guys like Stanley Jones, Caleb Butler, the Tusker brothers, just media day, I remember. We were like, okay, we got to get you guys together for a photo. And you remember this because we took a photo of your crew back in the day. And they were just, kind of doing funny poses together, kind of just really playing well off each other. And that's something that's always nice to see because, teammates, right, they don't always get along.
No, exactly. There's guys that you're going to clash with in the room, but the Alley Cats always seem to get together. The defensive line is an interesting group, and there's a lot of interesting guys in that part. And I think you hit the nail right on the head there with the way this team bonds together. It's really special getting to know these guys.
Quick thoughts moving ahead. Northern Iowa, this is always a bloodbath between these two teams. I think still maybe the most heated rivalry when the teams get on the field. You and I didn't start well, playing well now. Thoughts this weekend?
I mean, we played Brookings for a trophy, but it's you and I. We circle on the calendar every year. That's the one game you look like, okay, we play them week 8, week 7, whatever week it is every year. It's like, okay, we want that game. I don't care where it is. They don't come into our house for sure and beat us, and if we're down there, we're going to take it from them. It's a lot of kids recruited from the same areas and a lot of kids that know each other, and it gets heated. There's been some very chippy moments from punches being thrown in games and whatnot, and some late hits in situations that, if you watch on film, it irks some players. And the coaches dig those back up. Hey, this is what they do in the past. Be ready, prepared for this. And there's a lot of guys that'll say a lot of things on their roster, to guys on our roster that maybe aren't right. But it's going to be a heated battle.
Yeah, Northern Iowa's going through their toughest part of the schedule right now. We're number 3 on that tough stretch. They're 2-0, and if they can get a win here next week, win at least one of those games, I think they're in the playoffs for sure. But for NDSU, I think they might benefit here from the tough schedule here on the back end of the season, just so those guys can stay focused and ready that, hey, they do have something to lose here with Missouri Valley being in the driver's seat.
All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us. It's going to be a fun one this weekend. Northern Iowa victories over Youngstown State, SDSU the last 2 weekends as well. That is Cole Jirik. That's Joe Kerlin. Thanks, guys. We'll see you down the road. Kelly, back to you.
All right, thanks, Brian. Kickoff for that heated matchup against Northern Iowa is set for 2:30 p.m. from the Fargo Dome. Next on Midco Sports tonight, we stay in North Dakota, where our own Jody Norstead has some special guests to talk high school playoff football, see which teams they feel will take another step towards the Dakota Bowl. Stay right here.